Alright, so a gray day here in Malibu. Not much to work with, but I'm thinking of experimenting with doing a high key painting where I keep the values at a mid value and higher. As you can see, there's not a lot of light in the sky, so I might have to look for whatever light I can find and then exaggerate it. Alright, so I think I'm going to go with a high horizon, just because the sky is not very interesting. I'm more interested in the water. But like I said, I am going to try to look for some bits of light in the sky and then exaggerate that light so it's just not a solid gray, cool painting. All right, I've got my usual limited palette, but I've got a few guest colors. This red is permanent red medium from Rembrandt, and then this is cobalt teal right here from Gamblin, and then cerulean blue pure from Utrecht, using Liquid Original as my medium, and I plan to use natural bristle flats number 8 and number 6. The only thing we really know for sure today is that I'm going with a high horizon, and maybe I'll keep the horizon up around the top quarter. All right, and then down here there's dry sand, which would be this portion, and then wet sand. So dry sand, wet sand. I'd like to feature a wave maybe here on this third, and then maybe another one on this third here. I don't know, I don't like that. All right, so we've got sky, we've got water, wet sand, dry sand. And then what happens in here is a mystery. Nobody knows what's going to happen, including me. All right, I'm going to start with the sky, and I've got a mixture of titanium white, ultramarine blue, a touch of alizarin crimson, and burnt sienna. And I've thinned with liquid, as usual. And I'm just going to cover the panel quickly. Even though a day like this is not particularly visually stimulating, it's really comfortable. The temperature today is really nice, and not a lot of wind. So, and then also the light is really stable. So it's kind of fun to experiment and play around with, you know, color and value or whatever you can think of. But it's just nice to be out here on a day like this. Very comfortable. For the seawater, I'm starting off with a mixture of titanium white, ultramarine blue, and then I'm graying it down with a bit of burnt sienna. I've also added a touch of cadmium yellow medium. All right, I'm holding the brush at the end, and it's fun just to randomly scrub in and then look for a pattern. And I'm already seeing some wave shapes happening here. So like I say, often I'll just quickly scrub in and then start looking for appealing patterns within the chaos. All right, for the dry sand, I've got a mixture of yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, titanium white, and a touch of cadmium yellow medium. I've also added a bit of alizarin crimson. I've got a little bit of everything in here. Most of the time I push the warmth, but I'm thinking today I might just embrace these cool grays and see what happens. Okay, adding some titanium white to the sand mixture. The wet sand portion where the water is rushing in appears to be a lighter value. Okay, as I mentioned, I want my darkest darks to be no darker than a mid-tone value. I'm using my palette as a gauge. My palette is about a mid-tone value, so I've mixed up a blue-green here using phthalo blue and titanium white and burnt sienna to kind of gray it down. And I know that I want a wave up along the top. And even though the waves are pretty big today, I don't want to make them too big. That's something that I used to do all the time, is that I exaggerate the size of the waves. Okay, I've added a touch of cadmium yellow medium and titanium white. The waves get a little bit lighter in value and warmer in temperature as they come closer to shore. And they also appear a bit larger, obviously, even though the waves in the distance are much bigger. One of the challenges when doing seascapes is the challenge of not creating too many parallel lines. That could be a problem. That is basically what we're dealing with out here. I've got a sort of grayish purple mix here for the water in the distance. I need to darken it just a little bit, and I'm applying thicker paint. I'm gonna need to lighten up the sky a bit, just because I'm seeing more contrast between the water and the horizon. So I've got a couple choices. I mean, I could darken the water, but as I said, I want to keep the value of the water pretty high and keep this a high-key painting if possible. I've got a mixture of titanium white, yellow ochre, and cadmium yellow medium here. I'm seeing bits of light on the top of some clouds that are in the distance. So this could create a little bit of interest and light in the sky. And the value shifts in the sky are very, very delicate. All right, I loaded the brush with a mixture of titanium white and ultramarine blue and just dragged in some gray that was on my palette. All right, and there's a little bit more definition there, although I feel like I need to darken up the water a bit more. I did increase the contrast here, but I think I need to darken the water just a little bit more because I can't go any lighter in the sky. And then above the clouds, I'm using a slightly different color. It's titanium white, but it's got some cerulean blue pure in it as opposed to ultramarine. And then I'm going to try using horizontal strokes in this area. All right, I feel like I want more light at the top of some of these clouds, just little bits that'll sort of stand out. All right, I used a straight edge for the horizon, and I added some alizarin crimson to a gray mixture I had on the palette, just because I'm seeing red in the distance, which is kind of a usual thing. All right, I've got titanium white and cobalt teal. Just want to put in some of the breaking portions of the waves. So I've got to decide what I want to happen over here. I'm noticing that the whitewater goes a little higher on the right-hand side. So maybe I'll just apply it like that. And then maybe another broken section right here. Something like that. All right, I've done horizontal strokes. Now I'm going to do some vertical strokes. Maybe a vertical stroke right here. Some vertical strokes to break up the top of the wave so it's not a straight line. I've got some cobalt teal here because I'm noticing some saturated bits of blue-green in these waves. One of the challenges when painting high key is trying to get color into the painting. Most of the color is in the mid-range. At the top of the wave, as it's breaking, there's kind of a dark line. We'll try to include that. And maybe a bit over here as well. I added some cadmium yellow medium to the mix just to warm it up a bit. Add that over here as well. All right, also adding some warmth to the unbroken portion of the wave and some dark portions underneath, and then dark over here as well. I like this pattern that is created by the unpainted portion of the panel. So I'm gonna build on these shapes. I like the irregular nature of this right here. This is too much of a straight line, so maybe I'll break it up a little bit, like that. All right, I've got kind of a minty green mixture here using cobalt teal, burnt sienna, titanium white, seeing some minty green notes in the white water. I'm gonna lighten up the water just behind this wave a little bit. I'm gonna keep it dark right along the horizon, but right above the wave, maybe a little bit lighter. Okay, a lot of sky reflection in this area out here, going up the face of the wave even a little bit. It kind of defines the bottom of the wave. I want to leave some dark right above this white water, but this area in here is all pretty light in value. I'm keeping the brush loaded, and the edge of the bottom of the wave is pretty soft. This panel is pretty small for this kind of subject. It would be fun to do this on a big panel. Okay, I walked back and I feel like there's more red in this water. I'm adding titanium white and alizarin crimson. All right, I think I want some darker portions of sand where it meets the water, and then maybe some directional energy in the sand as well. All right, I've got titanium white and ultramarine blue here for the wet sand that's reflecting the sky. I'm using a gray-green that I just found on the palette. What I want to do is create some interesting whitewater patterns over this darker color. All right, in the foreground there are all these zigzaggy patterns in the whitewater, and I want to see if I can achieve that effect without overworking. I've tried many times and it's never worked out too well. And if it doesn't work out this time, that's okay. I can always just paint over it. And I figure if I keep trying one of these times, it might work. All right, so here's what I finished up with. As I mentioned, I was trying to do a high key painting and keep all of the values above a mid-tone. I think some of the darks in this distant wave are probably approaching a mid-tone. It can be really challenging to create interest when you don't have a lot of contrast to work with. I did have a moment where the sun came out and lit up the clouds, so I decided to jump on that opportunity. So I added some strokes of warm white to the clouds. I do think that helps to create some interest off in the distance, especially because there's nothing really happening on the horizon. One area that was a real challenge for me was trying to create the whitewater patterns in the foreground. I was trying to add the squiggly lines, but it just looked too busy and it didn't really work. So ultimately I ended up painting over it. And so I'm much happier with these simple brush strokes. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to see some extra videos and help support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below. It's Patreon support that helps keep me making these videos, and it's much appreciated. So check it out. Other than that, stay creative, and I'll see you guys in the next video.